Though Fayetteville police will put more officers on Dixon Street tonight and through the weekend, reminding people to wear their masks. Thanks for joining us for your 5 News at 10. I'm Erica Thomas. 6 months into the pandemic in Arkansas, and police say they're still getting calls about people not complying with COVID-19 guidelines. 5 News reporter Nick Camper is live on Dixon Street with more. Nick?
Well, thousands of college students are now on campus. Many of them come to Dixon Street for a good night. The governor says that these students need to start being more responsible. Fayetteville PD is here to make sure people are wearing their masks.
We received several complaints from concerned citizens in regards to the spread of COVID-19.
Fayetteville police will be on Dixon Street tonight and through the weekend enforcing the use of masks. Fines could be issued, but only for repeat offenders.
If we're down there night after night and it's the same person that doesn't want to listen to us, then that is an avenue we can go down.
The new semester at the University of Arkansas is now 2 weeks in. In that time, the university has accumulated 79 positives total from testing at the Pat Walker Health Center. It's reporting 399 active cases right now, which includes on-campus testing results as well as those tested off-campus and those who were self-reporting. And this affects the numbers in Washington County. Today, the governor says that the county led the state with 211 new positive cases. Over 80% of those are from the 18 to 24-year-old age bracket. The governor urges establishments to help force people to comply. Businesses on Dixon say patrons need to follow the rules.
I don't want this being dragged out because people are being irresponsible.
White says traditional bars face a problem with folks being able to stand up and walk around without a mask, unlike restaurants.
We do understand the difficulty that a lot of these bars face.
In Fayetteville, covering news where you live, Nick Camper, 5 News.
Now, as a reminder, the directive mandates face coverings be worn when people cannot maintain 6 feet or more of social distance around non-household members, both indoors and outdoors. There are exemptions, including for kids under 10 and medical conditions. You can find the exact directive language on our website, 5newsonline.com.